and how real is magic really? That's what I want to talk about. And I'm still figuring out some stuff with this YouTube live. For example, that if I schedule it, it somehow locks the screen in vertical. I don't want to be vertical. Never mind. Right. Why do I want to talk about this? Well, I just like talking about it, right? That is basically why I'm doing this podcast. It's like, yes, to provide value. I'd love if I can provide value. But at a certain point in my life, I just had to realize I'm not actually looking for an answer, because the answer to everything must be everything. I just like talking about that shit. So I just start talking about it. Well, let's see if I can set up the session right. I definitely, like, I'm doing this all from my head. I don't have a laptop here. Ah, fuck that shit. Thing is, I'm not really scripted here. Well, I do have some notes this time. It's a little, yeah, I'm still figuring out the lighting and stuff. So bear with me. This is a new thing for me also, but I love talking to you guys. Every Sunday I'm doing this just because, well, I have a lot of thoughts in my mind. I love talking about it. I would love to talk to you about it. So if you're coming in next time, then, if you're seeing this as a recording, because right now it's still zero. um, if you're coming in, I'd love to give you a tarot reading live. If you care, if you don't, fair enough, right? Just talk to me about the stuff. Today, it's about magic, the core principle of magic. And to get that shit out of the way, I'm not talking about illusionism, right? While that is a form of magic, as we will come to realize in the process of the argument, well, which is, if you know me, I do have a clear stance on it. Of course, that's why I'm making those videos. However, I've tried to explore it, and I do see everything as part of true. That's kind of already part of the argument. I mean, to define magic, right? It's like, if magic is real, we have to define two things: what is magic and what is real, right? That's a thing that people almost every time forget when they get into a discussion. Almost every time, a very heated discussion about the nature of things. Like, look at the patriarchy debate or whatever. It's like, explain what a patriarchy is first, then engage in an argument about it. Now, this is not the argument for today, but it's just an example where lack of definition in a heated argument at a certain point becomes almost irrelevant, because it's just emotions boiling up, right? And I, for myself, had those emotions boiling up about the supernatural, about magic and all that stuff. Because, well, I come from a Christian environment. I'm an intelligent boy. Used to be, I don't know. And coming from a Christian environment, they kind of spoiled it for me, right? So spirituality coming from a Christian environment is not the same. If you were brought up as a Wicca or whatever, you do have a very different approach to nature, to spirituality in general. So spirituality is not religion. I don't know if I said that already in a video, but this is where I'm coming from. Is like, that can't be it, because what they are living cannot be the recipe for living life, because they're fucking it up. They're making me angry. Like, they kill people for religious reasons, and like, whatever. Like, I'm not here to judge religion. There is a difference between religion and spirituality, just like spirituality is an individual endeavor, and religion is a collective answer to that individual longing for something greater than oneself. So the collective thing will always, it can never cut it for the individual, because the individual needs an individual solution, and then there comes a collective solution, which is almost, but not really, and then, they use it as a weapon against other opinions, and yada, yada, yada. So not going to go into that now. Talking about magic, right? Or rather, talking about why I'm interested in magic. Like, I studied philosophy. I was always interested in how things work. It's just that the spiritual ideologies I was confronted with, they weren't cutting it, right? So I was on the side of the skeptics. I ate like theologists for breakfast. I was like, you can't prove that, blah, 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 blah. So looking back, was quite an asshole about what I thought I knew, right? Which wasn't exactly wrong. It was just only half of the picture, and that's something I would like to rectify with, like, things like this podcast, where I'm like, okay, I've always been smart, but now I'm becoming wiser and wiser and wiser, and I tend to see both sides of the argument. I tend to see that everything has its point. Every side has its point, right? And relativizing a lot of stuff. So this is why I want to dive into that idea of magic, which ties into a spiritual awakening. It's like, what does a spiritual awakening mean? It's like halfway through your life, or after the first quarter or whatever, you tend to long for meaning. You tend to realize that the ideologies, the conditioning, or whatever that you were brought up with is not cutting it for you in terms of meaning, in terms of fulfillment. It's like, what am I doing this for? Why are we as we are? Like, what is the reason for all this shit, you know? And spirituality gives an explanation for that without proof, though, right? For spirituality, the proof is the experience. And that is the thing which makes it so hard for scientists to believe, right? That is a problem, though, with the scientists that think science was a knowledge base, and that's not it. Science is a method. It's the scientific method. So it's not about a knowledge base at all. As a matter of fact, science is more concerned with what we don't know than with what we know. And as a true skeptic in science, you would have to, realizing something that you don't know, that that contradicts something you do know, whatever, you would have to adapt the knowledge. It's like, we realize that this is different, so we have to adapt the knowledge base and not just push it away and be like, we can't explain it, that can't be real. So I'm kind of getting already off track here, or layer into the argument. I wanted to talk about magic, right? Because I did do some Googling, so I get the definitions right. That's basically all I do, is Google the definition. So the definition of magic is basically influencing the course of events through mystical or supernatural means. So what is mystical or supernatural to us is basically something we can't explain, right? Which takes me to 3 Clarke's laws, or the third is the only law, basically, which is any sufficiently advanced technology to us is indistinguishable from magic, which makes sense, right? If we can't explain something, but it does have an effect that is undeniably so, it's like, okay, fuck, this must be magic. So magic is basically a word to explain something we cannot understand, yet that does have an effect on us, right? That is somehow reality, but without us knowing how it works, right? Another idea around magic is coming from one of the greatest magicians of all time, and magicians in terms of occultists, which is Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley has a very interesting definition of magic, and to him, magic is, wait, I do have it open here somehow. I get it. What is it? The art. I have it. Yeah. To Aleister Crowley, magic is the science and art that provokes change in conformity with the will. And the will, in Aleister Crowley's sense, means the will of the universe, the divine will, right? So basically, how do we bring our own will in alignment with the divine will, so we can use our mind, or use our will, our conviction to, move mountains, in a sense, which is a metaphor, of course, right? Is it, though? Can we move mountains with our mind? That is basically the question. Is magic real, right? Can we do big things with our mind? I believe there is a limitation to that, right? There must be, or else we would move mountains with our mind. Some people making fire with their chi or whatever is okay, that's not exactly moving mountains. That is us scratching that veil. If that is not fake footage, whatever, I do believe that that could be real, of course, right? But why, and how, right? How does that relate, and why could that be possible? Um, yeah, why couldn't it? Right? That's the funny thing about skepticism. Kind of um, already talked about. It's like if you are a skeptic, then you're not just for scientific explanations, rational explanations. You're not only caring about proof. If you're a true skeptic, you're questioning your own skepticism. You're questioning. You always have to question your own beliefs. So you're not a skeptic if you believe in science. Then your religion is science, and that is a take on science that I, as a philosopher, was always furious about. It's like, how can you say that science was a religion? And I did understand it back then already. It's like, yeah, of course, it is a belief system, yes, but then the belief system has a claim to be absolute, right? Because it uses the scientific method to explore what is real. And then I have to say, is like, isn't the claim of religion also absolute? You know, but it is based on a different kind of proof, right? The proof then would be an individual experience which cannot be proven in the collective. It's like, okay, if they experienced it, it must be true. Say, yeah, I doubt that. So it kind of takes us into the question, what is real, right? What is reality? If we're talking about, yeah, that is not real or that is real, we have to know what reality really is, right? Pun intended. Is reality really real? That is the question, right? And in German, we have the word in German for reality kind of fits my argument very well. Reality in German is called Wirklichkeit, which is basically coming from the word Wirkung, which is effect. So that which has an effect on us, right? Which takes me into the idea that religion is not as it is defined. Let me just quickly look that up. The definition of reality is the world or state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. Which is so funny because it's explaining one with the same word. It's like, so what is the world and state of things as they actually exist? What is actually, what does existence mean, right? So that is not explaining reality to me. So there is always the problem between existence or substance, whatever, and reality. To me, that is two different things, right? I would claim that reality is something that has an effect on us, that we are aware of somehow, right? That doesn't mean we are aware of the causality leading to that effect, but as if it has an effect on us, it becomes our reality, right? It becomes our Wirklichkeit. So that is an interesting thing if we can say that something can be existing or can be in existence, yet not real to us because we are not aware of it and not aware of its effects, right? So it is existent and it is somehow influencing our reality, but so far off that we don't even realize its impact. So then it wouldn't be real to us. And that is my proposal on how reality could be explained and how we do not just like throw around that term without knowing what it means. I love the distinction between existence and reality because it makes it so clear that there's two worlds, right? That and it is basically what Kant is talking about when he's talking about the level of the noumena, which would be existence, the things as they are, you know, and the phenomena, the things as they appear, which is as they appear to as they come into awareness, right? So yeah, using the term consciousness from a New Age perspective, right, is not like being conscious of someone or being a conscious human being. Like, yeah, well, for the sake of the argument, let's just stick with consciousness, because I like the term. But how do we define consciousness without just weighing it against another word, which I pick to be awareness? Consciousness and awareness means existence is consciousness, everything is conscious, and reality is what's coming into awareness, is becoming our reality. That would make a lot of sense for me, right? And then magic would be that limbo in between where things are coming into our awareness, but we don't yet actually understand the causality of it, right? And then some would say, yeah, correlation is not causality. That might be true, but that also has its limits because, as well, as a skeptic, most skeptics say that everything has an explanation, not realizing when they say everything has a rational explanation, it basically points to determinism. And determinism says nothing is coincidental. In determinism, when everything is one giant loop of causality, of cause and effect, which is a Hermetic principle, by the way, then there is no coincidence. It can't be. Even like coincidence, also an interesting word, is like Zufall in German, is like when something is falling into our lap, basically. If it like falls into us, Zufall, which is the literal translation of it. Coincidence is like if two things, like two incidences are like coexisting or interrelating, like you're and I didn't even want to go into that, but you're postulating or you see a relation between two things or events in a coincidence, right? You see an interrelation or a relation between two events that you postulate cannot have a causality, right? But that is your arrogance saying like they cannot be connected. Well, what if you don't know? What if you just don't know how they are connected? And this is where religion, rather spirituality, but then as a set of rules, religion jumps in to give an explanation that cannot be explained away, which is dangerous. Yes, I'm not a fan of religion. I'm just saying it's like the moment you say coincidence is just coincidence, you basically say there can't be a causality between those two things. No causality whatsoever. But then if you think about determinism, everything must be a causality. Everything is like in a butterfly effect, somehow linked to each other. Even if it's just far, far away, it is linked. So if you say everything has a rational explanation, you're basically negating coincidences. And then you kind of have to admit there must be something connecting them. The question is that connection immediate enough for us to take influence on it? Or does it just, diffuse in the grand scheme of it all? That is the question. And Magick basically says, or believers in magic and occultism and whatever, basically say there is a more direct connection than we would assume from the workings of the mind or the will of the individual to what comes into reality, right? What we basically pull into our reality, which kind of does make sense if you think in terms of vibration. And I don't want to go into the Hermetic principles too much, right? Because that's worth another video on its own. But it is exactly that. It's like the Hermetic principles basically define like a set of physical laws, let's say. Well, it has at least like a scientific undertone and the same like absolute claim. which is like everything is in balance, everything is vibration, the universe is essentially mental, which means like, yeah, universe is mental, of course, but it basically means everything is one substance in different Aggregatzustand, what is it? States of matter, right? Or antimatter, whatever. I'm missing the scientific term here, state of aggregation, maybe? Could be. So everything is the same, even if it's different, yada, yada, yada. Hello, hello, glad you're here. I'm talking about basically the Hermetic principles and how skepticism involves, oh, involves really being skeptic and questioning everything, even the own mindset, right? So that is the thing that most skeptics don't realize, how they themselves are very absolute in just disregarding anything they can't explain, right? And this is where then spiritual believers and occultists and whatever step in, be like, yeah, but what if, And if you pull together all those things that are delivered from like over time, if you're looking at everything, and if you are looking for an answer to everything, you have to take everything into account. So if people were believing that shit for years and ages and ages and ages, it's worth taking a look at, just like the Hermetic principles. Now, if you take everything and you be eclectic about it and mix it all together, right, then you realize, of course, there can be a more direct causality than we would assume between like using your will to manifest, and and well, reality, that is the thing, that not everything that is real is automatically um, explainable, right? But that is that fine line which I think Magick is tackling, where we realize something is coming from the realm of pure existence into our awareness, meaning into the realm of reality, right? Things having an impact on us. And we assume a causality where there is a correlation, right? So we see a correlation, but then we think everything is somehow determined, right? And determinism, everything is part of that chain of causation, or cause and effect. So this causality must be present. What if that causality is way more direct than we would think? That takes us back to the definition that Aleister Crowley had, where it says basically it's just like magic is basically just provoking change in accordance with the will. Like for him, for Aleister Crowley, everything in essence is magic. When you force your will upon the world to create a certain reality, right? That is like, okay, but isn't that just, setting your mind to things and then working for it? It's like, yeah, exactly. But what if that setting your mind to things part has way more effect than we would like to assume, just because we can't see the causality of it? And this is where modern magic ties in, or like not even modern, like magic in general ties in, which is basically every ritual is a form of intention setting. The moment you're connecting your intention, your like electromagnetic field of your mind, whatever, with an act, you make it already physical. You speak it, you connect it with like with something real to bring it into reality. You give it more energy. But I don't think, well, this is me now, if everything has to be in balance, and we're talking about the realm of existence as the realm of consciousness, which is somehow everything, and then the realm of reality, which is awareness, which is only the things that have a direct impact on us coming into awareness. If we think in that sort of duality, then, you have to work for it. Then the thing is that you can manifest, right? But you can only manifest opportunity, because this is the first step for for something to come from existence into your reality is, oh, an opportunity presents itself, right? So when you're manifesting and praying, whatever, then the universe presents you with an opening to pull something into reality. But to make it real, you have to be active. You have to, build it. You have to go to the fucking gym, right? Go to the fucking gym. Um, and that is the thing what most people are missing. And I have to say, I'm not the authority on this by no fucking means. I would be sitting in a villa if I was, here on Bali. But that's cool. I did some stuff with my life. But if I was the master manifester, um, this would look a little different. So I'm not the big authority on this, but I realize that maybe there's something I can bring to the table, and I just love talking about that shit. But I was listening to some master manifestors, and they all have different approaches, but most of them, and the ones that somehow really made it, are talking about getting active, right? So, yeah, of course, you have to get active to bring something into reality, but that doesn't mean that setting your intention cannot, you know, pull something towards you, which would make sense if you think about the Hermetic principle of everything being vibration, which also makes sense in a scientific, with a scientific approach when you say, okay, if everything is one of the concepts that could bring that about would be the concept of waves, because we see that like it's interdisciplinary, concept of waves of on and off. That is something we can think about. So if we think of everything in existence being a standing wave, then it kind of makes sense that we have to think of it in something we can influence with our minds, because our mind is then also a wave. Everything is, right? So if you set your intention to something, you are gonna influence the fabric of the reality that you live in. Well, that doesn't mean that you like spontaneously grow muscles without working out. That's not how it works, right? But then I stumbled on TikTok or whatever. I stumbled across someone that says, "Hey, yeah, I'm really good at manifestation. It's been like a tradition in our family, and I can tell you, you only manifest opportunities." And that made so much sense for me, because it incorporates the principle of duality so well. When you're like, you can manifest, but only an opening, which is the first step of pulling something into your reality from the realm of existence, right? You're asking, as Kant would say, the world from the realm or the level of noumena, of the things as they really are, but we can't see them, to come forth into the realm of phenomena, so you can see and act upon it. So you always have to have both. You have to set your mind right and then take action on it. Now, if we're talking about like really details of manifestation, then your emotional state also plays a role, right? Then we're kind of talking about the Holy Trinity or whatever, and we're going into the elements, and it's getting really freaking mystic. But that might be just for another episode, because it's like a topic on its own, and I want to talk about the Hermetic principles a little more. But that it basically brings us to the conclusion that magic is that magical realm, or that limbo in between worlds, in between the realm of existence, or pure existence, let's say, coming into reality, into the realm that we actually can perceive. So we see something having an impact, right? Most of the time only individually, but somehow we feel it undeniably having an impact, even if we can't quite explain it, right? Through means that we cannot explain. So it is magical. It takes us back to Clarke's laws. Like any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. So if you pray for something and suddenly universe creates an opening for you to take an opportunity, where you're like, okay, wow, I prayed for this and now it's coming into my life. It's like, yeah, what if there is actually a causality to that correlation? And that is basically the claim of Magick with the CK, right? Is that limbo between things coming from existence into our awareness, from the realm of consciousness or subconsciousness, let's say, into the realm of awareness. We'd be like, there's somehow, like, at the very least, there's a correlation, things coming together. So it's like, maybe I can reproduce that. Maybe I can do it again. And then we get to religious scriptures. It's like where people were trying to figure out how to reproduce this cause and effect, which we don't exactly understand. Then channelings and whatever are probably quite close to that explanation, even though in the most cases very abstract. But that's where when metaphysics has the same claim as modern science, which is an absolute explanation of the things going on, of reality, to broaden our sense of reality, right? And make more things come into existence and get us getting a hold of it, right? And then Aleister Crowley, he was just like spot on when he said it is basically about the will and aligning your individual will with the divine will of the universe so this can flourish. And he wasn't even making a distinction, right? That is a funny thing for me to see that some things in this reality is already like, it's magic. It's freaking magic. We're doing magic every day without even realizing it. And especially when you're looking at black and white magic, and I should have gone into that, right? It's like black and white magic. What is the difference? I do believe the intention is the difference and the way to go about it. For example, like white magic would come more through surrender and the a pure intention of like calling someone to help, and black magic would be the intention of bending something to your will and often utilizing, well, sacrifices and whatnot, because it is a sign of control, of controlling the physical reality, and with that, strengthening the idea or giving energy to the idea of control and of bending something or someone to their will, whatever. And then with the sacrifice, kind of trying to keep that balance to please the gods or demons or whatever. But if you water it down, and I don't want to talk for too long anymore, but if you water it down, then like the terms magic and reality and whatever, then basically television is like the most popular form of black magic. It's it's hypnosis that affects people on a massive fucking scale. And, I don't want to hate on society and the Matrix and whatever. It's like, if you're on this channel, you're probably already woke enough to not get, really angry about it anymore. It's like, at a certain point, there's just acceptance, like, okay, the world is just, like, interesting right now, shit hitting the fan. But you have to realize that, like, a tool of mass hypnosis is a form of black magic in a sense, because you're making stuff a reality. You have a direct angle of making stuff a reality because it becomes the reality of so many people that believe in that shit. And we're like, okay, then suddenly is a reality, and then the belief will help create the fact. I don't know what quote that was. The belief will help create the fact. Also, a beautiful statement of magic being part of a duality, right? Or using the duality. It's like, will help create the fact. It's not, you're not wishing something into existence. It will help create the fact. So it will help you by providing an opportunity, by the universe conspiring for you, or more scientifically speaking, you adapting a frequency and then make it easier for things or ideas and concepts, energies of the same frequency, to approach you, because you're connecting with it. But you, in the physical realm, you do have to take action, have to take charge. And then that is the thing where you go into rituals and stuff, right? For example, this incense, and I'm quitting just like in a bit, but just as a final thought, this incense is like, it is a form of magic in a sense. But the idea of magic is that it's always made by you. You, your mind, is the magician. Everything else is just a tool. So if I light up this incense with an intention, then every time I subconsciously pick up the smoke and the scent, I'm reminded of that intention I set for myself, and it's thereby reinforced. So it's not the ritual that makes the magic, is the reinforcement and the self-conditioning of the mind to reinforce that intention you set for yourself. And that intention, your mind, makes the magic. It's never the ritual. The ritual is always just a tool for your own mind to bring in the magic. Now, I still have to learn that shit, how to exactly do it, how to bring things into my reality I truly desire. I mean, I did it many times, you did it many times, but the thing is, doing it consciously, this is where it becomes real magic, right? Where you're like, I'm praying for something, and then suddenly that thing like comes up into your reality, and you'll be like, oh, all right, I'm taking this. And that's what we're trying to do, right? But if we think we can bend the universe to our will, we're going to wake up. We're going to wake up like really badly, because you cannot bend the universe to your will. You will, however, bend your will to the will of the universe, because they're ultimately the same. I believe that is what Aleister Crowley was kind of going towards, like going for, when he's like, in accordance with the will, means in accordance with the divine will. And why would you want to go in accordance with the divine will? Yeah, because you are an expression of the divine. So the will of the divine is ultimately your will, whether you know it or not, right? And that's basically what I had to end on. Is like, the only thing that really truly makes you happy is the fulfillment of divine will. And everything you want in life, to you, in your reality, seems like a fulfillment of that divine will, until you realize there's something bigger. There's something bigger. It's like that carrot on a stick. Fair enough. Fair enough. So if you manage to align your own will with the will of the universe, and then reinforce that with something in reality, with an act, and with something tangible, then the universe be like, all right, you gave it enough energy, you gave it energy from both realms in a way, so here is an opportunity, now take it. That basically, ladies and gentlemen, that is magic to my mind, and how it would integrate perfectly into a very eclectic worldview that's considering the 7 Hermetic principles, trying to integrate them with modern science, and how this all blends together, right? That is modern eclecticism, pantheism, all in one pot. And I'm still trying to master it, but what I realized is, like, I just love talking about it, and that's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing, the tarot, and thank you so much for listening. Now, if you like that, come in. I'm doing this every Sunday. Write something in the chat, questions in the chat. If you're looking for a reading, go for it. I will pull a card for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this. And check out the readings, check out the Instagram channel. There's a lot to come. I keep doing this. I stay on track now because I love it so fucking much. I've been talking for 40 hours straight. I could go on for another 40 hours, but that is something for next week. See you then. Thank you so much. I love you. Let's see. Oops.